Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Garage Talk Sports. I'm Mills.
I'm Bobby.
And I'm Nick.
And we are back in the garage, bringing another episode to you guys. We got a fun one coming up. As always, we talk our hot spots to start every episode, but we will be recapping the college football championship. What an electric game that one was.
So exciting.
Totally not a dud.
Down to the wire.
Then we got NFL Wild Card Weekend coming up, so kind of a quick little playoff preview, but we'll save all that for our Nick's Picks segment, which is separate from the episode. Then we're going to talk a little bit about some news going into the NFL offseason because there has been some big things that have broken. I mean, Black Monday has come and passed now, so
that's true.
Some stuff to discuss there. And then a brief little, I guess, tidbit recap sort of the Bears 2022 NFL season. We have a long offseason ahead of us, so plenty of time to dive into more detail there. But just a little recap of the season and I guess maybe a quick offseason outlook, but we'll save the nitty and gritty details for all of the coming episodes when we have some downtime talking. Because the Bears, there's not much to talk about playoff-wise. There's nothing to talk about playoff-wise. So
also nothing for the Packers.
Yeah, and nothing for the Packers.
Or the Lions.
Eat dirt.
That one's sad.
Yeah, well, we were rooting for the Lions
and,
here.
Per Pat McAfee, Aaron Rodgers has meetings all day with the Packers. Tuesday and Wednesday, all day. He was with the Packers, meeting with them. So,
well,
hey, it's not good, not looking good.
Yeah, well, we said that for 2 years in a row now, so I'll believe it when the dude retires. But until then, I'm expecting him to be back in Green Bay. But we'll talk about all that stuff a little bit more as we get into the episode. But like I said, we always lead off with our hot spots. So we're going to kind of go ahead and jump into those. I am going to volunteer to go first just because I've talked about Carlos Correa for 3 straight weeks. Let's make it a 4th straight week, shall we? Carlos Correa officially signs with the, who would have thunk it, Minnesota Twins.
But you said officially like 3 times now. So is this
no. The other times where he was signing with, this one he signed and like he's under contract with them. But, you know, he is finally signed to a team, 6-year, $200 million contract, as opposed to his like 10-year, 200 or 300 and something, and his $350 million contracts that he couldn't finish it or I guess finalize with the Giants or the Mets. You know what? He's back in Minnesota. All this circus stuff going on for the offseason regarding him, for him to just end up where he was at all along. Really confusing process. I don't think I've ever seen this happen to a player in the free agency period ever.
Not a good look for the mega superstar agent who always gets his client the most amount of money possible.
Yeah, Scott Boras dropped the ball on this one. From what I've seen, Correa is pissed with Scott, like really pissed at Scott Boras. I believe I shared the details of it, but it was about a surgically repaired leg in 2014. Yeah, that was the injury concern that the Giants and the Mets had. I keep like jumping baseball and football. I keep wanting to say Jets, but I know that's not. The Giants and the Mets were concerned with the surgically repaired leg that he got that done in 2014. So we're talking 8 years ago. But I guess there was legitimate concerns there because if 2 teams had that concern and like that was holding up deals, obviously it's a bigger deal than we may think. I still kind of think I look at it as well. I haven't seen him slowed down by this injury at all. So,
and I mean, $200 million is no small chunk.
Yeah, and it's 6 years, which means he has the potential to get a final contract after this one.
Yeah,
I don't know all of the terms. I don't know if if there's a club option or player option in it. I didn't read too much into it yet. Mostly because it's the Carlos Correa saga. For all we know, he's not going to be a Met or a Twin now. I don't know. Yeah. But from what I've seen, he has officially signed, so this one's like locked in now. But yeah, Scott Boras dropped the ball, really letting this injury concern kind of dictate negotiations. I don't think Scott Boras is used to that.
In 4 years, I mean, I don't know. I think what I heard that the Mets are trying to push, their last thing was it would be a 6-year contract, and the last 4 years were hinged on how many games he actually started and played. And
that would
for
make
some reason, Scott Boras said no before asking Correa about it.
Oh,
and then that's why Correa is pissed now, because if a team pulls their offer, like agent can't do anything about that. But if you say no to something, fully consulting or
Scott Boras for you.
Who was Freddie Freeman? Who was his agent?
Not Scott Boras.
I was about to say. he doing it again?
No,
He got
Scott.
fired. Freddie Freeman told him he got fired.
Yeah, no, that's the Scott Boras thing though. Like we've talked about him plenty of times. He's going to try and get you as much money as he possibly can.
Well, because all those agents try to get the most money possible.
Because it's in their it's in their interest to get those contracts.
Oh, yeah.
Scott Boras is like, I mean, he basically has a monopoly on MLB players. His agency pretty much represents just about every major star in the MLB.
Yeah, it's like the NBA guy. I can't think of his name. It's the guy who represents LeBron.
Yeah, like
everyone had him.
Yeah, like it just is what it is. So Scott Boras has MLB owners and GMs by the nuts with how, well, he pretty much dictates where the stars go in a way.
Yeah.
And it's, he kind of, I think he kind of he screwed up basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, Carlos Correa, this is 4th week in a row now talking about this whole offseason.
No, we took a break last week.
Yeah, we did.
We did last week.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so 3 out of the last 4 weeks have been about him.
This is weird seeing him land back at the Twins because didn't he sign a 2-year deal that had to opt out in it, and he opted out of it?
He opted out for money.
Yeah.
He knew he was going to get more money.
Yeah, it was...
Which he did.
Yeah, he did. Everyone knew he wasn't going to play both years on that contract.
Yeah.
He was going to prove his worth outside of Houston and then get more money.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. But yeah, so that's my hot spot there. Carlos Correa back in Minnesota. Not happy to see it because I don't want him in the division, but hey, is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Finally got a contract. I've always liked Correa, so he's got a contract finally.
And it's just been a nightmare this all offseason for him. But I'll go. I just want to say it. Fields is the guy in Chicago. Obviously, everyone knows that after this weekend, we got to thank Lovie Smith for that huge win for the Houston Texans, and then immediately after the game getting fired for it.
His last gift to Chicago.
Yeah, that was his last gift. So the Bears have the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And anyone who is saying that the Bears should go with Bryce Young first overall is an idiot. Any analyst saying that is an idiot. And I'm sick of the disrespect. All right.
Fair enough.
Like
I don't know, Bob. This is what I will say. I'm not expecting it to happen, but I don't think I will be near as shocked as a lot of people I don't think they're drafting Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or a quarterback first overall. I don't think they are. No. I think the most likely scenario is they trade the pick. Yeah. But all I'm saying is I will honestly be more shocked if they just stay at number 1 and take Will Anderson Jr. or Jalen Carter rather than draft a quarterback. That, like, just staying put at 1 and drafting one of those 2 D linemen would shock me more.
Yeah.
Because that would just be like the ultimate, like, well, that I just feel like that move would just be like, really? This is as conservative as conservative gets.
Yeah.
But even the thing is, that decision wouldn't necessarily be the wrong move because those guys are if they're not quarterbacks, so we're not talking about them first overall, but everyone ranks them as your number 1 and number 2 prospect interchangeably. Yeah. So theoretically, they are the first and second overall pick.
Yeah,
it's
they're the best like position players on the board.
Yeah, it's just, there's quarterbacks that are worth taking a shot at in this draft as opposed to last year. So they're not getting talked about as first or second overall picks. When in reality, if this was last year's draft and they were coming out, they're your first 2 picks off the board.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't think they're drafting a quarterback, but I think the reason all of it's getting talked about is because Ryan Poles didn't draft Justin Fields.
Yeah.
There's no loyalty there.
Which I understand, but Fields was your whole offense last year. You did not give him any talent to work with, and he still made something out of nothing. And it's like,
I don't disagree.
Yeah,
I'm just
like, regardless,
to me, I just can't, like, analytics wise, that's your job, is that. And analytically, there could be a lot of reasons why you take Bryce Young over Justin Fields, depending on what offense you're going to go with. If you want a more pocket passing offense, you're going to go and spend your $110 million on receivers. I don't think there's a lot out there. I'm not saying it makes sense.
There's very little.
But out of the Justin Fields draft class, there's only one quarterback where I think it would be stupid to try to trade and replace. It would be Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. Every other quarterback out there, I'm sorry, has not shown that they're NFL ready. I mean, yes, Fields hasn't really had guys to throw to, but you can watch a lot of his throws have not been great. Now, is it that he's a first-year quarterback in a seeing his second coach? Because really, he's had 1 full year now.
Yeah,
is what he's had. So now it's like, all right, going forward, the Bears are pretty much at the bottom that they can ever reach in the next couple of years. No matter who you put at quarterback.
I would certainly hope so. Knock on some wood for us.
No matter what you do at this point, you're pretty much at the bottom.
You could theoretically only get better.
Yeah.
At this point, if you're questioning whether Fields can lead the team going forward past year 3, then saying it's stupid is dumb because you've proven nothing as Justin Fields. I'm not saying I would do it, but Justin Fields right now has proven nothing. He's not proven that he can win big games. He's not proven that he can throw the ball accurately. You look at a guy like Bryce Young, who has won the Heisman.
He won the Heisman last year.
The Heisman last year. He's proven that he can throw the ball, yes, on a team that has some of the top stud talent.
But then again, NFL talent is better than potential college talent.
Yeah, but you don't know. Right now, you're basing all of Justin Fields' potential on his college because we have not seen him throw the ball well. He threw for 2,000 yards.
Yeah, but also
if Trevor Siemian plays the whole year for the Bears, I think he also gets 2,000 yards. And if you're telling me Trevor Siemian's your starting quarterback and you're not going to go after Bryce Young, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but also you got to think about the receiver talent that's in Chicago, which is not much.
Nathan Peterman had the same talent, actually less than some of Justin Fields in that last game, and he still threw the ball a little bit better than Justin Fields. Now, is Justin Fields way better of a quarterback than Nathan Peterman? Yes, for sure. But if the Bears have any doubt at all going past one more year, then going for Bryce Young is not stupid because you're literally going to hinge your next 5. What if they go after Will Anderson now and they say they get 2 picks? They go Will Anderson, Jackson Smith, and Jibba. And then they have Justin Fields, and Justin Fields doesn't pan out. Now you wasted those 2 guys next 3 years. 4 years.
I'm going to rein it in. We can cover this a little bit later.
Yeah, we can.
Because we're about to start down a really long road. So we can get into this later in the episode when we recap the Bears.
But
because this is a good conversation coming up.
If the Bears move on from Justin Fields, I am no longer a Bears fan.
If they get Bryce Young, I won't be. I'll stick it out.
I don't think the Bears care about that statement.
They should.
But like I said, we will dive into that. We could get into that a little bit later in the show.
I'll have a similar thing with my hotspot, different sport. Bulls targeting DeAndre Ayton to come to Chicago, which is weird because we talked about it last year when they made all those moves and they got Lonzo Ball. And it was like,
dude, look at the size of this man's water bottle.
No, that's a normal size. He's just got huge hands. He's got Shaq hands.
Yeah, you wish.
And actually, Andrew has a normal size Yeti. It's not an enlarged Yeti, so he has really tiny hands.
I have Kenny Pickett hands.
No, but kind of similar with Justin Fields. Like, I don't really see the Bulls have had like a chance to show what the Vucevic, the Levine, or DeRozan lineup has done, and they're already thinking about moving on. And it's just like it's weird because the game of basketball switched to a more run and gun 3-point teams, and then it's like that's what the Bulls were going for, and then they got just beat down by the Bucks in the playoffs. Now it's like, oh, well, now we just need a big man. And now it's like, well, now what you do? So what has been talked about is most likely it would have to be Zach LaVine would have to be given up for DeAndre Ayton, which would be a big shakeup because you're going from
that would be an absolute. I mean, they just gave him a max deal.
Yeah,
that would. But I think that would be an overcorrection.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at the Bulls, like, I mean, we talked about it when Ryan was on the podcast. Ryan and I are the more basketball guys that talk about this and watch it.
Don't insult my basketball intelligence. But
I'm not. I'm just saying we follow it a little more close, and it's just like the Bulls. Yes, are a very disappointing team to watch when they play good, and when Zach LaVine shoots 11 3-pointers, and it's just clicking. That team looks unstoppable. But then all of a sudden, you get other games where it's just like, why are we losing to the Wizards when they're really not that good of a team?
I kind of think Billy Donovan is losing the team right now. You know, Nick, you've voiced your concerns for him as the head coach for the team long term, and all the reports have just been that there's all kinds of drama in, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not like conflict, sort of, you know,
controversy.
No, not controversy, but there's just all kinds of drama. Like they're not gelling in the locker room. Like guys are kind of butting heads. There we go. Thank you. Like, and they're just not meshing together. And I feel like that's what we're seeing on the court is a team that doesn't really play as a team. And I think they're all trying to play like me ball, thinking that I'll be the guy who pulls us out of it. I'll be the guy who pulls us out of it. And then you see when, you know, they're they're firing on all cylinders and Levine's putting down 11 threes and everyone else is contributing, obviously not 11 threes. That's a lot of threes, but like everyone's kind of doing their part. They look really good. It's just, you rarely see the team where they're all kind of playing their role correctly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know as much, obviously, but to me, when I see that kind of stuff happening, I always look straight at like, well, what's the leadership like on the team like? And is Billy Donovan commanding the locker room. Because if he can't correct it, then it's going to just continue to get worse, which is how it's mostly seemed, is that whatever's going on isn't being corrected by the head coach.
Yeah, because even last year, like they struggled in the playoffs, but it's like their regular season, they were still clicking. Like they were winning games. You're like, wow, this team could win the finals if they kind of put it together, and they just never did. And then all of a sudden they got to the playoffs, and it was like, oh, if we double team DeMar, no one else can bring the ball up the court. And it's like, come on, you're NBA players, like
you got to be able to
figure it out,
right? Yeah. It would be interesting to see if they did that. Like I said, I think that would obviously be a massive move, shake up a lot of things. But if you think Levine is like the root of the problems with the team, okay, then I guess that's what you got to do. But at the same time, how did you not see that coming before you gave him a max contract? Like, he's been here for how long? You should have had an indication that he was going to be like. I liked Zach LaVine since he got here. I kind of defended him when everyone's like, he doesn't deserve a max deal. And he probably didn't deserve a max deal, but I liked locking him up, you know?
Yeah.
But if he's the issue and you can confidently say he's the issue, then I guess the move makes sense. It's similar to the Justin Fields, Bryce Young thing. If you don't think Fields is the guy and you're not the guy who brought him in, and you have your opportunity at the clean slate that you might want, then that's your prerogative. Yeah. I just don't necessarily agree with that move. But interesting hot spot there. And I'm excited for this little Justin Fields, Bryce Young conversation that's probably going to ensue for a couple of weeks here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we have so much time to talk.
We have so much time to talk about it.
3 months before the combine.
But we'll move into the college football championship game. That game was over in just about 12 minutes.
It was.
Final score: Georgia Bulldogs 65, TCU Horned Frogs 7. The most lopsided win in NCAA D1 bowl game history.
Yeah.
Over 1,100 bowl games have been played since they started in 1920 something, 21, I think. Most lopsided one of all time. Absolutely brutal.
I will not take the disrespect of people saying that TCU didn't belong there.
I don't either. I put that in our like run through here just because that's been the talk. Is like all these Michigan fans are out saying this is why Michigan should have been there. Well, then beat them.
Yeah.
Huh? Almost like you lost your opportunity. You deserve to be there. I'm sorry. The team that beat you to get there deserves to be there.
Exactly. I would kind of wish that we got to see like Ohio State and TCU flip. Cause I feel like it would have been cool to see the Michigan-Ohio State rematch.
But that just wasn't going to happen.
And then we could have seen it how TCU was going to match up against Georgia. But no,
we did get to see it anyways.
I mean, we did.
Worry.
But
and for everyone who thinks Michigan was going to match up well, what happened last year? Beat down. That's right.
They got beat down.
My biggest thing too is like you always have to go football mindset into it. If TCU, same thing with Ohio State plays Georgia week 1 or the first game of the playoffs. There's a better chance of Georgia losing because you have to go through 13 games of Ohio State football, 12 games because they didn't make the Big Ten championship, and figure out what kind of scheme they're going to run against you. And they also have the same thing of they have 12 games to figure out. Like Georgia hasn't worked all year to really win. You know, they played a lot of games that they should win because they're Georgia. They should be the top dogs.
I mean, there was that Mizzou game.
They had some fluky performances where they were caught with their pants down.
So you can't really, like, as Ohio State goes, well, they never really had to change their game plan. Ohio State had to change their game plan a couple times when they played Michigan for the second time and stuff like that. And or when they played Michigan and they got to play a different team. So it's like there's a better chance of that happening. I think last year, if Georgia plays Michigan in the college championship, I think it's even more of a blowout. Because you're really not going to change your game plan that much from 1 week to the next or 2 weeks that you have in between. And guys like Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, all these coaches, even Ryan Day, is just a different level of dedication and work that goes into.
Oh, yeah.
Where they can, I think those coaches, you always play to win that current game. Because if you lose, you're done. They always go in and we're going to win this game. But in their head, they're already scheming of like, well, okay, now when we play Ohio State or when we play Michigan, it's going to change this small thing and it's going to change the whole thing. Whereas TCU coaches are like, we have to put everything into beating Michigan.
Well, it's a new coach too. Yeah.
I can't even focus at all on the possibility of playing either Georgia or Ohio State. So I'm going to put everything into Michigan. And now in 2 weeks, they have to figure it out. Where Georgia's defense just works against everyone.
Yeah, and well, another thing with TCU is first year head coach taking over the team. Max Duggan took back the starting job this year. He didn't start last year for TCU. He lost the starting job. Only 2 players on that entire team have played in a bowl game in college. The rest of them haven't. Like TCU, they were a Cinderella story, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, experience kind of took over in this game. That's what it was. Yeah. It was a team that has been there, done that, and ready for it.
It was a 25-year-old playing with a bunch of young adults.
Well, Mike Duggan's 24.
I know. It was just funny.
The Stetson Bennett stuff. But so, TCU, by all accounts, belonged there. And what aggravates me about people saying they didn't is no one said they didn't belong there when they were put at number 3 and matched up against Michigan. No one said that. Everyone agreed that was your 4. No one complained. No one said it was a bad move. They beat Michigan. Okay. They clearly belonged there. Georgia's just that much better than the rest of college football. Outside of the Ohio State game, Georgia hadn't had to sweat. And Georgia showed what they had when they came back and beat Ohio State. Even when you think you have Georgia knocked down, you don't. That's what that game told me. And to your point, Nick, about how they really didn't have to try. Yes and no.
Well, I'm not saying they don't have to try.
No, I know. That's
when you look at when TCU had to come back against Kansas State in the Big 12 championship game, they opened up their entire playbook. Mm-hmm. Kirby Smart opened up 10% of the playbook all year. And then in that Ohio State game, probably opened up to 25%.
Yeah, no team forced Georgia to change how they play football. That's what you were saying. That's how I meant to say it. But the game that I knew Georgia's winning it all was when they beat the shit out of Tennessee. And everyone's like, this is it. Georgia's finally going to get their test. And they made Tennessee look like an FCS team that had no business being on the same field as them. Georgia is just that legit in. There's really nothing you could say about it. But to say TCU didn't belong there, that's crap, because then your alternative was Michigan, the team that lost to them, or your alternative was Alabama, but Alabama lost to LSU and Tennessee, both teams that got beat by Georgia. It's like you can go out there and say the 4 best teams, but if the 4th best team isn't winning the games that they need to win, they're not the 4th best team. I get it. You can't. That's the thing with college football is you can't and this is the thing with any sport. You can't go strictly by what's on paper. We've seen that this year. LSU and Tennessee both beat Alabama. LSU was more shocking, honestly. Tennessee's offense was crazy coming into that matchup. So the high scoring game, I mean, it was unpredictable for sure, but Tennessee was the better matchup, like the one you thought had a chance at beating them more than LSU. And then LSU beats them. It's like, well, if we're going on paper, Alabama was the better team, but they lost.
Well, yeah. I mean, I always go with college, and I hate the thing of once it's 12 teams, it'll be better. There's still a possibility that TCU beats all those other teams, and it's TCU versus Georgia, and it's still or it's Georgia versus Alabama, and it's a big blowout. I think people are just mad if it's not their team that they wanted to be in there, and it's a blowout.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
If Kirk Herbstreit's I think Tennessee's the best team. If it's not Tennessee versus Georgia, he's going to be like, well, yeah, I wish it was this, because you want to see what you thought the better team was. I always look and go back to it as when I talked about it earlier in the year when U of I was set to play Michigan, and they could have possibly knocked them out of the Big Ten championship. And then if U of I would have made it to the Big Ten if U of I would have went undefeated and then got in the Final Four, they deserve to be there. They don't belong there. They're going to get rolled by these bigger SEC schools that have a passing game and a running game and a good run defense. But just because you play a different style of football in your conference and you end up going 12-0 doesn't mean you don't belong there.
Right.
TCU didn't. Yeah, I think people always bring up Cincinnati last year. It's but they still beat Notre Dame. As soon as they lose one game after that, they're done.
Yeah. And they didn't until Alabama.
Alabama looks and loses 2 games this year, and people are still saying they should be in the 4. So it's all these schools that go undefeated and have a chance to go in, you can't say don't belong there because they're playing for so much more, because if they hiccup against a bad team, they're out. Alabama, we saw it, gets 2 hiccups, and if every other team performs well, they won't make it. But if one more thing happens, Alabama's in 4 with 2 losses.
Yeah, and it just, the whole, like I said, you can't, with sports in general, you can't just go based off of what's on paper, because then you're going to get, you can look just as foolish. Look, what's to say? I'm not saying it would have happened. Let's say Alabama goes in as a 2-loss team and gets the crap beat out of them by Georgia in the semifinal. And then we're talking about how Ohio State at 1 loss should have been in there. TCU at 1 loss should have been in there. It's like, well, you can't have it both ways. Going on paper, it's foolish. If they were the better team out of those 4, they wouldn't have lost the 2 games that cost them their spot. I'm sorry, it's that simple.
Yeah.
The margin for error in college football is tiny. It's 1 loss. Once you lose more than once, you're done. And if you're a team like Cincinnati, for example, if you lose once, you're done because the committee's looking for a reason to take you out. TCU, by all accounts, showed every right to be in there. The only argument you can make is that they didn't win their conference championship, but they went 12-0 in the regular season, lost their conference championship. You know, that is what it is. But to say that they didn't earn their spot and didn't deserve to be in there, that's tough. If they didn't deserve to be in there, then Michigan didn't either because Michigan couldn't beat them.
And also Ohio State should have been there because they didn't even play in their championship game.
Yeah, so that's why this whole it just is aggravating.
Well, people
Everyone's
bother
mad
me.
because it was a blowout. If it was closer if it was a 14-point loss, we're not talking about how they didn't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
Well, my thing is, if people are really upset, then here's what you want to do. If it's going to be 14 or 12 teams, you take the top 4 recruiting classes, and then those teams that have the highest 4 out of the top 25. Those are the 4 teams that play in the college football playoff next year. Because on paper, that's what it should be.
Yeah.
If Georgia right now is number 1, and if they finish with the top recruiting class, then they're number 1 in the college football playoff next year. Why even play the regular season games? Because if on paper you want to just do that, it's going to be Georgia, probably Alabama this year. I think Tennessee is going to have a great recruiting class, and I guess you put Colorado in there if you think they're really studs. So then why even play the regular season if you just want those 4 teams to be in there?
Yeah, that's why it irritates me. And it's also just all those pundits. No one was complaining about TCU being in there until it was a blowout. And now suddenly, this is why they should have never been there. I'm sorry, Colin Cowherd. You were talking about how it was right for them to be in there in the Final Four after they lost the Big 12 championship. You're out there on your show, The Herd, talking about how they got it right. They got it right. And then the semifinals come along and talk about how the committee finally made the perfect Final Four picks. You couldn't have been a closer Final Four than this. Now it's a blowout. This is why TCU shouldn't be there. Like, sorry, shut up. Just shut up. You're wrong.
And we can always go back to like what we've always talked about is like Alabama, Georgia, Clemson back when they were a powerhouse team, Ohio State when they had Zeke and then they rolled into those teams. It's like those teams can come back from down 21-7, 28-7. I thought TCU had it in them just because they have a weird offense. They have a power running game with Max Duggan. But what did you really want Max Duggan with? You don't even know the names of the TCU receivers when they're down 28-7. It turns into a pass-only game.
Yeah.
And Georgia knows that. Kirby Smart is not an idiot. He's
and you're not, you don't, that O-line doesn't stand a chance against that front four.
So like, at a certain point,
projected number 1 overall pick who's like 300 pounds on that line.
Yeah, it's like
and fast.
Yeah, and fast too.
And I mean, like that always gets to me too. When like I hate when people are always like they do it in college basketball a lot when it was the undefeated Kentucky team. They're like, oh, the undefeated Kentucky team could easily beat the 76ers in basketball. And it's like, no, they can't because those are the top tier of all college guys get to that level and then they're up there. So it's like, no, that doesn't make sense. But in college football, Georgia, Alabama, those teams are as close to NFL teams as you're going to get.
For the most part,
because it's just, that's the pipeline from, you know, you want a big defensive lineman, a big offensive lineman, you're going Big Ten and you're going SEC. Just because that's where the big bodies are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to go out there and be like, oh yeah, that Big 12, which it's only been really a passing offensive system, like you really don't play defense there, goes up against the best defensively and one of the best offensive teams. You think it's not going to be a blowout? Like,
yeah,
there's always that
the
possibility.
matchup wasn't great on paper.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean TCU didn't earn their shot there.
It just, you know, sometimes the magic wears out and it sucks for TCU, but
like
hey,
Utah.
Second.
Utah won. Let's say Utah goes undefeated and they're in there. I think the same thing can happen to them. They're an undefeated team in the Pac-12 that beats USC twice. They deserve to be in there. But same thing, when you're down 3 scores, 4 scores, everyone in the world knows it's a pass-only game. And and it's we've talked about it before with NFL. Like Bill Belichick's a good he always beats up on rookie quarterbacks. Like we saw it in Lamar. Lamar was a stud all year. And then he gets to the playoffs, and Bill Belichick's like, well, I have 17 weeks of you on film. I know how to scheme this. So that happens. I mean, and then no one ever talks about that in the NFL. Like back when the Ravens played the 49ers when the power went out, and the Ravens were up 35 to like 6. It's like, oh, you're going to talk about that the 49ers don't deserve to be there because it's a blowout? No, it's a football game.
And
like,
they almost came back and won that Super Bowl as well.
because they turned the power out, and then they got.
They didn't, but I mean, they came close.
Yeah. But it's like you have to look at it. Once you get to the playoffs, it's just like the NFL. You've fought for the right to be there. You deserve to be there. Blowouts happen in the NFL. Like the Colts when they're up 33-0. Like or the same thing with the Falcons and Patriots way back when.
Yeah.
28-3. You're gonna tell me if the game ends 49-7 instead of 49-10, you're gonna tell me that no, the Patriots don't deserve to be there because it's a blowout.
Right. But the real question from this now is what is the Stetson Bennett career trajectory at this point? Because all the joke is, oh, here we go, Stetson Bennett going to be a car salesman, catch him at your local Chevy dealership in 2 years or whatever. At the end of the day, Stetson Bennett set for life. He's regardless of stats, is going to be regarded as one of the best Georgia quarterbacks of all time because of his 2 championship games.
Yep.
His 2 championship wins, I should say. So, I mean, he's pretty much set there. He could probably, he was on Pardon My Take even talking about how, he knows if he needed a money grab, he could do something involving Georgia and make a crap ton of money.
He can just do a Georgia QB camp where he just goes to high schools and gets paid.
Yeah, dude, like he can sign and he'll be pretty much set from this alone.
I mean, he might make a practice squad. Like someone will take a chance.
Stetson Bennett, I see him as a backup quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, but I'm saying like, I don't know if he'll get drafted, but I mean,
you know what? People might be shocked by this. Stetson Bennett, if you're a team that's just kind of like in a weird spot at the quarterback position, why don't you take Stetson Bennett late in the 4th or 5th round?
I think what we've seen.
I think he's going to go undrafted, but
I don't know. I really don't, because to me, you can compare him to AJ McCarron. McCarron was like the most successful college quarterback at Alabama, and he was drafted in like I think the 4th round by Cincinnati. And I could see that exact thing happening to Stetson Bennett. He's won 2 championships. He's looked good in both championship games.
Yeah,
his measurables don't wow you. He's not very tall. He's very skinny. But like if you have a 5th round pick, let's say even a 6th round pick, and you're sitting there like, well, we don't really have much at the quarterback position outside of whoever our starter is. Why don't we just draft Stetson Bennett? He could be a backup.
He could be our Brock Purdy.
You never know.
Yeah.
What I've seen now, and like it's a weird thing because draft picks are important, but at a certain point, it's like, well, this guy's going to make an instant impact. What's going to be the thing? And I think with this year, what we've seen is with guys like Brock Purdy, Cooper Rush, Joshua Dobbs last week when he played against the Jaguars, like. It's nice having a smart guy just back there on your bench who just focuses on learning the playbook and learning everything. Because I think if you look at, Joshua Dobbs was on the team for 17 days, but Brock Purdy comes in, plays well. Cooper Rush goes undefeated for his first 6 games until he loses. Where it's like teams, I feel like the Titans, the Ravens, the Dolphins, where it's like you lose your top guy, and then you're going with guys who you're not confident in. If you pick a guy like Stetson Bennett to be your 2nd or even 3rd string quarterback, you have a proven winner who knows how to run play. Like Kirby Smart's playbook isn't probably like the simplest thing. Like it might not be the most difficult, but it's like you have to know all that. And
Stetson Bennett is pretty accurate.
Yeah,
they don't use him a lot. They don't need like a crazy passing offense because they're so dominant like in the ground game. But I'll just throw this out here. Jarrett Stidham, Stetson Bennett. Jarrett Stidham's been in the league since he came out of college. What has he done other than make 5 appearances total throughout his career? How is he any better than Stetson Bennett? He's not. That's my point. Is like you can carve out that role. Maybe you get your shot somewhere.
Where I'll go with Stetson Bennett is the 2 places that I think would be the best for him and what makes sense for me is the organization, Green Bay and Tampa Bay. Because I think Green Bay or Tampa Bay, if Rodgers and Brady stay, you're going to go with them because why? Of course, there's no way you're going to have Brady on your roster. He's not your starting because he's just leaving. Same thing with Rodgers. But what happens if 3 weeks before the season, and we saw it happen to Brady left training camp for 10 days right before the season starts? I don't think you want to waste a 1st pick or 2nd pick on a quarterback who's going to be your backup. So why not just roll in the 4th or 5th round, pick up Stetson Bennett? Guess what? If halfway through the year Tom Brady goes, you know what, I'm calling it quits. I'm done.
And then you
Now
throw
you really-
Stetson out there.
You wasted nothing to get him, and he's probably going to give you some success. Same thing with Green Bay. Is Jordan Love your quarterback of the future? No. Is Stetson Bennett? No. But Stetson Bennett might be able to hold you over for 2-3 years. Like,
Yeah, I honestly think Stetson Bennett can. He's not going to be a franchise quarterback. I mean, he could. You never know. The football's unpredictable. You know, there's tons of guys who emerge as stars that you don't expect. But Stetson Bennett, by all accounts, if I were a GM and I'm sitting there, you know, let's use, for example, we'll use the Vikings because they have Kirk Cousins, Nick Mullins is their backup. Okay, great. You have Nick Mullins as a backup. You don't know how long you're going to keep Kirk Cousins around. And you're just like, you know what? Why don't we just add like a third option at quarterback just to have someone? You know, Stetson Bennett's obviously older, so you're not getting a super youthful guy, but you're just like, well, why don't I just want someone else in the room in case I need to go to him and someone I feel comfortable with? If I'm sitting there and he's there in the 5th round and I've pretty much addressed most of my needs, it's a 5th round pick. A lot of those guys don't even make it to your active roster come week 1. So sure, I'll take a 5th round pick on Stetson Bennett. I can throw him at QB 2 or 3. He can play in the preseason. He can sit there and be either inactive most weeks or he could be our backup, whichever happens. And you're paying him $500,000 a year to do that for 2-3 years. To me, that's a no-brainer. You're getting a dude who's won a lot in college, whether he want to admit it or not. Stetson Bennett has won a lot of games, 28-3 or whatever his record is.
Really, if you put him on a team like the Vikings too, because I think that's the problem too that some people go into. It's like, oh, this guy was so good in college, like Trevor Lawrence, and now he's going to struggle in the NFL. It's like, yeah, he's also throwing to guys that aren't the top at their position on their team.
Yeah.
But if you put Stetson Bennett on the Vikings, you're throwing to Justin Jefferson, which I think would be his best receiver he's ever thrown to, even though he's hit studs at Georgia. And you got
Dalvin Cook.
You got Adam. Like, you have veteran guys there. It's like, all right, yeah, I don't think the Vikings want to just keep going from pocket passer, older pocket passer, and keep going. But we saw last year that the quarterback pool sometimes dries up in the draft. So if you need a bridge guy to get you through 2 or 3 years, that could probably still win you 10 games in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I think Stetson Bennett has a place somewhere on a roster. I don't know where. I think
so too.
And I don't expect him to go early, but I could see a team drafting him just purely based off his success in college. Yeah. He's had so much success, it kind of entices you to at least look at him.
Yeah.
You know, if he goes undrafted, I wouldn't be shocked by that either, but I'm sure he'll sign somewhere.
Yeah.
I just think fifth round pick for whatever reason, I have a feeling he's going somewhere in the 5th round to a team that's already kind of got a quarterback in place, but they're a little older, maybe, you know, early to mid 30s. And they're just like,
Tennessee Titans.
I don't know what their thoughts are on,
because I don't know.
What's his face? Malik Willis. I wouldn't keep Malik Willis on that roster past his rookie contract.
I wouldn't either.
I would be trying to trade him and see if I could sucker a team into thinking that he's got some kind of upside. But Malik Willis, not the guy there. Not the guy.
Yeah. And I think the Titans have one of the weirdest situations. Because, like, all right, we'll go to Atlanta. In that division right now, it looks like you're probably going to be bottom feeders for the next couple of years. Why not?
Who knows?
Why not just play Desmond Ridder to see what you have or what you don't have?
I mean, what?
Whereas the Titans
8-9 won the division.
Yeah, you're talking like
but I don't think you're expecting
pulled off another win. They could have won that division.
But I don't think you're expecting Brady to have that bad of a year again.
No,
I think eventually the Saints are going to put together what they want, and that defense is finally going to be like, oh, now we actually have a team that puts points up. But if you're the Falcons, that makes sense. If you're the Titans, really, I think your window is as long as Derrick Henry's there. And if you never get another quarterback and another past guy to throw to, Ryan Tannehill's going to be done. You're going to get back to this situation. And then Derrick Henry's going to be like, trade me, please, because I can't run the ball 45 times and have everybody just plug up the box with 8-9 guys where it's like he's just fighting for 2 yards.
Yeah, constantly. I think Tennessee is not being honest with themselves about where they're, like, what the future of their franchise is looking like. You know, Ryan Tannehill's 34 years old. He's not exactly youth anymore.
No.
He can hold it down, but at some point Tennessee has to address that they need a legitimate quarterback.
Yeah.
But we don't need to get into all that. Yeah. Basically, Tennessee came up short because they had to rely on a dude that they picked up 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago to try and carry him through. So Malik Willis obviously is not ready. I don't think Malik Willis is going to ever be ready.
Yeah.
I think, like I've said in the past, a weak quarterback class drove his stock up. I think Malik Willis goes later than the 5th round, if even drafted, if he came out in any other draft. I don't even think he's on I don't think he's on anyone's board as a potential franchise quarterback. But there was none available, so you had to gas him up, and you had to gas up Desmond Ridder, who just threw his first touchdown pass after starting for 3 weeks, which is pretty tough.
Hey, sometimes it's hard in Atlanta. Kyle Pitts took him forever to get his first touchdown.
No, I know.
And then
Atlanta's
even
a
longer to get
weird.
his first touchdown
Atlanta
in
is in a weird spot,
America.
but we got the NFL playoffs coming up.
Yes, we do.
So we got wild card weekend coming. AFC wild. The 2 Saturday games we have. Our AFC matchup is the Chargers at the Jaguars. That one is like the late afternoon game, like 3 o'clock or whatever.
3 o'clock game.
And then the Saturday night game is the Seahawks at the 49ers. But this week in wild card, we have those 2 matchups. Then you have Ravens at the Bengals, Dolphins at the Bills, Giants at the Vikings, and Cowboys at the Bucks.
And Chiefs and
Eagles are your 1 seeds in the AFC and NFC respectively. Basically, like I said, we'll preview most of this when we do the Knicks pick segment separate from this episode. But right now, the team that I am not exactly looking forward to facing.
I was going to give me your team that you're least likely that you don't want to face, and then give me your team that you're like
the team.
That's a curveball. You have no idea what to expect.
The team that I don't want to face, honestly, is the Giants. Giants are getting healthy right now. Like, they're getting their players back right for the playoffs. I think that could be a trap game for the Vikings, but at the same time, the Giants could be the Giants and lose. I just think they're starting to get really healthy at the right time. And I mean, their backups hung in with the Eagles last week, the Eagles starters. So Brian Dable has that team going in the right direction. And I think if you get Saquon and Daniel Jones firing, and that, you're getting your O-line healthy again, you're getting some of your receivers back, look out. They're just a scary matchup at that point. But yeah, that's my team to look out for. Second would be a team that I'm sure one of you is going to pick. So
yeah, I think you can go next, Bobby.
I would say the Bengals, man.
Okay, that's fair.
They're pissed about the home field advantage. They're all pissed about that, and
well, don't matter anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore. But they were pissed about it, and honestly, like this, they fell apart in the beginning of the season, and like second half of the season, they've just been on a roll, and
they've been hot ever since, basically.
Yeah, and even without Jamar Chase, they're still putting up numbers. It's just they have a good defense. I would just be scared to face them. And honestly, especially if you don't have Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Good luck.
That's going to be a tough challenge.
Yeah, good luck.
To me, it's the Jaguars.
Yeah, that was my other team.
Like, one, you have a great pick. You got Kayvon Walker. That's your guy. You have Trevor Lawrence, which 2 years ago, halfway through last season, you're like, I don't think he's going to be the guy. Now it looks like he's the guy. But for me, it's always been the NFL. Like last year, Bengals got hot towards the end of the season and just rolled right through the playoffs. Jacksonville won, 6 in a row to end the season?
They went 6-1 to end the season.
6-1 to end the season. After the first 3 weeks, they had the number 1 efficient defense and the number 1 efficient offense. And then at the end of the year, both of those came back to play where it's like, I don't know. I don't want to play them. I don't want to play Trevor Lawrence. I don't want to play Doug Peterson in the playoffs. He's been there before as a coach.
He's won a Super Bowl. So
a lot of the players haven't been there, but if you have a coach that's been there,
and they have a good defense.
And they're also in this matchup facing a team that hasn't been there yet either in the Chargers. Yeah. So that's probably the biggest toss-up matchup of the weekend in my opinion.
Also, because the Chargers, you don't know what you're gonna get.
Mike Williams is questionable. But we'll dive into this in the actual Knicks picks because we have less games to talk about, so we can go into more detail.
My curveball that I have this playoffs is the Buccaneers. It's Tom Brady.
Yeah, of course.
It's playoff. It's playoff Tom. I think it's hard to ever vote against Tom Brady in the playoffs, but I mean, really, all you have to do is get there. Everyone's always like, well, Tom Brady, he sucked.
Yeah, it's true. All you have to do is get there.
I mean, yeah.
But it doesn't matter what happens in the regular season. If you win the Super Bowl, you win the Super Bowl. And out of every, we just talked about 2 teams that have no players that have been there.
And
Tom's been there so many times.
Yeah, if there's a player that's been there, it's Brady.
Didn't the year the Eli won with the Giants?
9-7 last wild card team.
Yep, they were the last wild
They
card.
beat the undefeated Patriots. I was just about to say,
Yep.
all you got to do is get there, and then anything can happen come playoff football.
Yeah.
So
You know who my favorite quarterback was growing up?
Eli.
Eli Manning.
nice.
Who's your curveball team, Bob?
Curveball. I'm gonna say the Cowboys here because like they have these games where they blow people out.
And then they go back to being the Cowboys.
Then they go right back to being the Cowboys, and it's playoff time. So it's like, I don't know, man. Like they could fall apart right here, or I could see them blowing.
For me,
blowing them out.
I like their team. I don't. Mike McCarthy's my curveball because like he's been there before, but he's also failed his team.
This could be
before.
like, honestly, if they come up short or they lose in the wild card weekend, I think Mike McCarthy gets fired.
I think so too. But like
yeah.
I said, I could definitely see that happening, or they could just go up and their offense could be explosive and throw up 40 points. Like it's just they've
Yeah.
been so like inconsistent. It's weird.
My other curveball team is the Chargers, because if Mike Williams is healthy and all those weapons are on the field at the same time, plus Justin Herbert, the Chargers are such an unpredictable team.
Yeah,
They're-
social media quarterback.
yeah, exactly. He's gonna just light up social media, but
And now is
it just is.
now is time to prove that he can win the spotlight.
Yeah,
Yep.
it sucks having Mike Williams out. Brandon Staley made it made no sense to play your starters when you knew you couldn't go up or down in your rankings
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Like you lost. Like you ended up losing the game, so it meant nothing. But
Yeah.
you lost Mike Williams. He left early with an injury and is now questionable. A dude who was battling an injury earlier in the season. It's that kind of decision making that is going to eventually cost Brandon Staley his job.
You know-
And I know a thing or two about coaches who lose their jobs, because someone called Cliff Kingsbury getting fired this offseason.
He did. He was the first one gone. Besides Glove.
Well, Matt Rule technically was the first
Oh
one
yeah,
gone.
he really was.
I think
but-
everyone. I mean, yeah, not as early as you called it, but I'm like when you have an offense like that, you know it's your coach that's going first. Like,
Well, here's the thing. Cliff Kingsbury signed an extension through 2027 during the offseason. I don't think anyone thought he was going to get fired. You don't
Yeah.
fire a guy 10 months after you extend him.
Yeah.
unless you perform how he did.
Oh, yeah. But my whole point was just, I've been riding and giving so much shit to Cliff Kingsbury since he signed as the head coach.
because last year they're like coming into it, they're like they're going to be number 2 in the division. Like they
Yeah.
have such a good team, and now it just flipped this offseason. Like they're in complete rebuild mode.
Yeah, well, here's the
Like-
thing. When all you've ever done is be a loser everywhere you've coached, cough, cough, Cliff Kingsbury, don't be shocked when you're a loser in the NFL. I'm sorry. This is why Steve Keim is stepping down, because he made that decision. You fired a head coach after 1 year and moved on from your first round quarterback for Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. That's what you did in one year. You had a new head coach, a rookie quarterback that you took like 11th or 10th overall, something like that, and Josh Rosen.
I believe he was 10.
Now, Josh Rosen hasn't gotten a shot anywhere, so maybe he's actually bad. But then again, that's a bad pick on Steve Keim.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
same thing we've talked about with
like
Justin Fields not being Ryan Poles' guy. Each time he went somewhere, he was like he wasn't really Josh
Yeah.
Rosen was no one's guy. So then
yeah, like at
He
least,
gets
Josh
traded-
Rosen, in my opinion,
At
got
least-
screwed because I don't think he ever got a fair shot. And once you don't get a fair shot, it's hard to get
Yeah.
another one.
yeah,
I mean, at least Mitch when
Mitch was given
Mitch
every
got
opportunity.
Mitch
man.
got
Mitch
2
got a
more
shot.
opportunities.
yeah, he's
And
a
Mitch
shot.
got to the playoffs twice. Say what you will, but he did. But no, so this is the thing. Cliff Kingsbury, do you know what his best record was in college at Texas Tech?
I want to say like
I'll say 7-5.
7-5. He
Okay.
did that. He did that one time. They qualified for 2 bowl games in his years at Texas
rough.
Tech. So his claims to fame. This is the because I looked it up after he got fired because I wanted to be prepared to gun this piece of crap.
Jesus.
Terrible head coach. He's not a piece of crap person. That's not fair.
He's
but
a
he's a
beautiful
terrible.
house.
Yeah,
Yeah, he does.
he's
I mean,
a
he does-
terrible head coach.
I mean, he seems like a nice
If we're
guy.
gonna talk about
Yeah,
one
that's
good
why
thing
I apologize for saying piece of crap. I didn't mean he's a bad person, but he's not a good head coach. So Cliff Kingsbury, this is how he came up, right? He's an offensive assistant or a quality controls offensive assistant at Texas A&M when Johnny Manziel lights up college football.
But he was under Mike Leach, right?
What?
No, Mike Leach in Mississippi State.
No, because he coached at Mike Leach was at Texas Tech for a while.
Yeah, I'm
but
getting
this is
there.
Texas
So
A&M.
I'm going through his career as
Yeah.
a coach here, Bob. He started off as an offensive quality control coach at Texas A&M. Johnny Manziel lit up college football. So he moves up a little bit, and now so eventually he finds his way to Texas Tech. And he's an offensive coordinator when Baker Mayfield is there for one season. And then, boom, now he's Baker Mayfield transfers. So you don't get to claim Johnny Manziel or Baker Mayfield under your tutelage, in my opinion.
No.
His claim to fame was Pat Mahomes. That's why he's made it to the NFL. But he went 6. His best records were 6-6 and 7-5. He did each of those once. And those are the only 2 seasons he won more than 5 games as a head coach. Garbage. Then, for whatever reason, people have convinced themselves that because their offense is really good, even though it's the Big 12 and the 3 of us can go and coach an offense to average 40 points a game in that conference, he somehow is the head coach he gets hired to be the head coach. Why? Because all he said was, well, I would take Kyler Murray with the first overall pick. And people think that Cliff Kingsbury knows a thing or two because Pat Mahomes became a star in the NFL. And what did they do? They went, I believe they went 5-10-1 his first year, 8-8, 8-8, 11-6. You thought it was looking good. Oh, but you came back down to earth because you're actually not a good coach and you went 4-12-1.
Yeah.
Welcome to reality.
And
Cliff Kingsbury's been a loser everywhere he goes. He continues to lose.
And you made J.J. Watt retire.
Well, I think J.J. Watt was going to retire.
Especially because I always look at it too as I feel bad. Lovie Smith, I'm not going to give him crap for having a bad season because his team was terrible.
Yeah.
But when you're a Cliff Kingsbury and you have Kyler Murray, Zach Ertz, DeAndre Hopkins, just so much talent on the offense and your offense kind of sputters out and you're an offensive mind. The same thing Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah, I think people want to give him it's only 1 year and Russ played terribly. But you were an offensive coordinator in Green Bay. That means your offense should be good. Now, if Denver lost a bunch of games where they're putting up 35, 40 points a game and they're losing, it's all right, we're going to keep him because clearly he knows how to offensively coach. We just need to help him defensively. When you suck at what your specialty is,
you get canned.
You're bad.
Yeah.
Except in
you're
situations
trash, dude. Hit
like
your
Matt
shots.
Eberflus. Defensive coach, defensive-minded coach, but your defense is trash.
No talent, though.
If your defense has talent and you're not producing with that, then yes, it's your problem.
Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury strikes a nerve with me because I've never seen a coach so underqualified get an opportunity they don't deserve.
Josh McDaniels is getting there to me.
Jeff Saturday.
Well, no, Jeff Saturday.
That's different, though. Jeff Saturday was like...
If he gets extended...
That's fair, I guess.
If he gets extended, if he's the coach going further, then yes, I agree with you about it.
Yeah, if they extend him, sure.
For right now, I think they just were like, hey,
what do we have?
We're going to put some butts in seats. We're going to pull Jeff Saturday. Everyone no one hated Jeff Saturday. Everyone was kind of like, why him? But no one's going to be like, oh, wow, Jeff Saturday's a piece of garbage.
Yeah, because you can't hire your full-time head coach to, you can't hire a full-time head coach in season if you fire your guy because you have to follow the rules of interviews.
Yeah.
So that was whatever. You threw stuff at a dartboard and hoped something hit bullseye. That's all that was. But the Cliff Kingsbury one, I'm just going to say it. He had no business being an NFL head coach. He barely had any business being a head coach in college.
Oh, he'll get another shot.
Yeah, of course he will. Of course he will, because his offense averaged 50-something points or whatever.
And now it doesn't matter. If you're, I think we got Harbaugh going. At least he had success in San Francisco. But he goes back to Michigan. He draws so much attention. Same thing, Lovey going to U of I. U of I has had historically terrible recruiting classes. But then you get that NFL coach, and it's he has at least one connection in the NFL. I have a shot to at least get a look.
Yeah,
by that team.
Man, the Cliff Kingsbury one triggers the hell out of me.
Cliff Kingsbury will be back in probably the Big 12 or the Pac 12.
Yeah, he'll be back somewhere.
He'll be coaching, a pretty crappy team to a pretty crappy record every year.
Just like Matt Rule going to Nebraska.
And I'm just gonna say I am so happy that he got fired just because it's it's just some kind of validation. I don't know how to put it, but it just is like,
yeah.
I mean, if you want to feel better, just go on HBO Max and just watch that Hard Knocks, and you'll
they fire him?
No, you don't see it. On
just watch the team fall apart.
Yeah, you just watch his life go in absolutely chaos.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that one coming from a mile away. I doubled down on Cliff Kingsbury.
You did.
Every opportunity I could. And you know what? They went 11-6 last year, but they finished the season 3-6 and bounced in the playoffs. So you regressed right back to being a loser
because
you're not good.
And Bobby was against me, and then all of a sudden they went.
I came so close to changing and thinking the Cardinals were legit, but then that streak happened, and oh man, it felt so good to see he got fired.
Then
Cardinals are in full rebuild though, because you know what? Kyler Murray is did not look great when he played this year.
No, yeah.
Kyler Murray, in all honesty, outside of when he won Rookie of the Year, has not looked like a star
And
quarterback.
this is year 3 for Kyler?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was year 3, and they extended him way too early. You extended him 2 years before his contract's up.
There's your thing, Bobby. Kyler Murray, would you want it, like last year, if you had the number 1 overall pick and you had Kyler Murray on your team and there was quarterback in there, you wouldn't get rid of Kyler Murray to go for the number 1 overall pick?
No.
You would just ride with him?
I mean, like he's had success in the NFL. So
I understand, but now they extended him, so now you're rocking with him. And now what you found out is maybe he's not the guy going forward. So if you did, the Cardinals didn't have number 1 overall pick; they had a much worse draft pick. So of course you're doing that. But that's the same thing with and you get Fields right now. I'm not saying I think Fields is good, and I think he's going to go forward. The only thing that I'm confused about with this year, because offseason wise, what are the other coaches that got fired? I kind of missed.
Lovie Smith was fired Sunday after giving the Bears the first overall pick.
Yeah.
Crazy
That's
ending
the
that
only
game.
reason why he got fired.
Matt Rule was fired early in the
Yeah.
year. Nathaniel Hackett was fired before the season ended. But coaches that have been fired since the end of the season, it's just Cliff Kingsbury and Lovie Smith.
Yeah.
That'd be great if Lovie became the defensive coordinator for the Bears.
Oh, if they brought back Lovie, I don't think they're going to fire Alan Williams, even though if there was one guy on that staff that I kind of am not a fan of, it's Alan Williams. But like you mentioned about Eberflus, there's no talent on the defense, so you can only hold so much on a dude when you're playing with nobody. Yeah. So we'll see though. Then the other big offseason news, which we saw this coming after a couple weeks ago, Derek Carr officially being shopped by the Raiders for trades. And it's come out that if they don't find a trade partner, they're going to cut him, which is terrible news for the Raiders.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Because now, if every team knows that you're going to release him anyways, why on earth would we try and trade for him when we know when we could just try and get him without having to give anything up?
And you're like not be on the hook to pay him $40 million.
Yeah. So I don't imagine he's getting traded now, because unless a team is really like, we don't want to risk having to get into a bidding war with this guy, and thinks, well, because honestly, there's probably very little trade market now that everyone knows he's getting cut.
Yeah.
If they don't find a trade partner. So if everyone knows that, not a lot of teams are going to try to trade for him. So maybe a team's like, well, we could trade for him cheap because it's better than them having to just cut the guy. But regardless, he's going to be leaving.
Thing that I think's going to end up happening.
What?
Flip Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr.
I was going to mention that, but I don't know about a trade. But my potential landing spots for Derek Carr, there's the obvious ones of the Colts, Jets, and then Tampa are the 3 that just stick out right away. Because if Brady retires, Tampa's definitely in play.
Oh yeah, they're definitely in play.
Those are my 3 most likely in play.
I want to throw a wild card in there just because it would be cool to see it. The Giants.
I think Daniel Jones has made believers in him with the Giants.
Yeah, but also I could see Dable trying to go after a veteran quarterback.
That one's possible. My biggest like dark horse in all of this is the Ravens. Baltimore has not re-signed Lamar. He's a free agent at the end of this offseason. They just signed Roquan to a 5-year, $100 million contract. They're signing everyone except Lamar. He's got this knee injury now that clearly has kept him out long term and is most likely keeping him out of the playoff game that they're going to play. So now, when you already weren't willing to commit to him when he was healthy and a former MVP and still lighting up the league, you're definitely going to be more wary of committing to him when he's possibly going to lose a major part of his like style of play with his mobility. Not saying he's not going to be able to run, but we always talk about running quarterbacks eventually suffer that injury that takes away that running aspect or limits it. And so you have him as a free agent. You're not signed. You clearly it doesn't seem like you have intentions of signing him. I could be wrong, but everything is indicated, because it seems like talks have gone nowhere. Like they haven't even tried. So if you move on from Lamar,
so like he's a free agent, or they have to pick up his 5th year option?
I think they have to pick. I'm pretty sure they have to pick up his 5th year option.
Okay.
But what's to say you don't go, okay, well, let's trade Lamar for Derek Carr and some other stuff in return.
Yeah, I'm sure you could.
And now you got Derek Carr. You have your more traditional style quarterback that Greg Roman might want over there. The only thing is you've tailored your offense so heavily to Lamar.
Yeah.
But it's not difficult to tailor back to a more traditional passing offense. That might actually work better for some guys.
Give me the Raiders winning the Super Bowl if that happens.
If they got Lamar and Lamar's good to go.
And they keep Josh Jacobs, Lamar Jackson, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams.
Well,
If Lamar Jackson's finally throwing to someone.
If you're the Ravens, you better be getting Devontae Adams in that deal. It better be a package deal.
Well, yeah, unless you don't think he's going to. I mean, yeah, they can franchise and tag him for 2 years because.
I think they would try and go after an early pick.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think because Devontae Adams just signed that contract. He's the Raiders. I'm pretty sure would take a huge cap hit if they trade him.
Well, unless he waives his no trade clause.
Maybe, but I
for his sake-
don't think they're trading Carr. They're not trading Carr and Devontae Adams. That's not on the line because the Raiders believe they can win now, and they just need the right quarterback for it. So you're more likely going to. I'm not. This is a long shot scenario
it
here,
is a very long shot scenario. But
and then another team that might be in play there is the Packers if Aaron Rodgers retires or leaves the team, whatever happens there. And I don't think they believe Jordan Love's their guy. They want someone to hold it down. Well, there's your bridge quarterback in Derek Carr.
Yeah.
So, and then I also had the Patriots, but I don't know. That's just thrown out there.
Everything else kind of hinges on like what some of these teams do. Like Seattle's a playoff team. They're not rolling Geno Smith in the long term. So it's like
but they have a pick high enough to take someone.
Yeah.
So.
And same thing, they're gonna try to do everything they can to get a better quarterback than Geno Smith, but also you made the playoffs with him. If you have Pete Carroll has another year to work with him, you don't know what's gonna happen next year. So they might just kind of keep rolling with it, see what happens with Lamar as long as he doesn't get a big contract with him. Like there's so many things that are up in the air that we really can't solidify it till the playoffs roll through because a lot of teams that are in the playoffs are also possible. Like you said, Ravens in the playoffs looking for a quarterback, Seahawks in the playoffs looking for a quarterback, 49ers, you have no idea because you're rolling with your third stringer right now, but he's looking like a stud. So do you roll with Brock Purdy?
I think they're gonna go right back to Trey Lance when he's able to play.
Yeah, I mean, you took him with the third.
You gave up so much to try and get him, and I think they're gonna be stubborn about it.
I'm calling it here first. With the Seattle's second pick in the first round, Hendon Hooker, Seattle.
Second pick in the first round, Hendon Hooker?
No.
Well, their second pick.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Their second pick, not number 2 overall.
I don't think they're taking Hendon Hooker.
Hendon Hooker, he's their guy.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see, Bobby. I'm not
a wild prediction.
I'm not holding my breath on that one. Man. We have talked a lot of football.
Yeah, we really have.
Well, I guess let's wrap up with a quick rundown of the Bears real quick. Bobby already mentioned in the hot spot. The first overall pick fell into their lap. So they honestly kind of control the direction of the entire NFL draft with this pick.
Yes.
Like this can shake up everything. Houston, I mean, anything can happen at this point.
Like
I have no idea what will happen. If I were a betting man, I would bet they trade that pick and get a bunch in return for it.
Yeah, because like I said, like we'll just do real quick. Like the San Francisco trade for the third overall pick for Trey Lance set the market. So you're talking if teams are going to trade up for a QB, you're talking 3 first-round picks is like the set.
Yeah,
like that's at least what you're getting.
I think what you have to look at too, and I know we watched Draft Day and it's a movie, but it's like if you're Ryan Poles and you pick. Like, even say you don't have Justin Fields, but you go with Bryce Young right away and he doesn't pan out. You look like an idiot. But if you trade away number 1 for 3 future first-round picks, then no matter what you do, you're still good.
Yeah.
Like, I think people always talk about the Khalil Mack trade. Like, you traded away Khalil Mack, but you got 3 first-round picks, and Josh Jacobs turned out to be your only one of that. But still, you got a bona fide NFL star at a position. So if you just trade it for 3 picks, even if they trade down 1 spot to 2 and they take Will Anderson and he turns out to be a scrub, you still have 2 future first-round picks. And most people are going to agree with you that you made the right thing because you traded down and used that value for
like the team I would target if I were Ryan Poles, and this will be real quick, and then we'll go to your question of the week, but I would target the Colts because they're at 4th overall. Chris Ballard has said he will do whatever it takes to fix the issues he's made this past season and the seasons past and to shore up the quarterback position. He said in his end of the season press conference to go through 3 veteran quarterbacks in 3 years. You cannot have that kind of inconsistency at that position and expect to be good. So he's looking to get a quarterback.
And
Derek Carr is going to hit the market. Does he really want to try another veteran quarterback?
No, I don't.
Or does he want to finally go, let's go and get our franchise guy like we had in Andrew Luck before his retirement?
Who is rumored to be Will Levis.
Yeah, that's
which is
I don't see that happen. If they did that, I'd laugh my ass off
it's
all
literally
night.
the Bears with Mitch Trubisky.
But so if I'm Ryan Poles, I'm looking at the Colts, number 4 overall. Okay. We know that Indianapolis is moving up most likely to take a quarterback if they're making that trade. You can get a lot in return from the Colts for the first overall pick and only fall back to number 4. Houston, I swear, if they didn't take a quarterback second overall, they're stupid like that. But then again, it's Houston, so what do you know? But in theory, first 2 picks, quarterbacks. Number 3 overall, the 3rd overall pick, Arizona. You figure they're going to I feel like they would probably take Will Anderson Jr. because they like taking edge rushers in Arizona.
That's true.
Now you're at 4. You can still get Jalen Carter, which is what I think the guy they need to draft more than Will Anderson Jr. You're still in play for him. You can take him. Plus, you have whatever you got in return in that trade for the first overall pick, which I would imagine you're taking at least another first round pick next year. You might be able to get a current impact player to be a part of your team going forward, in which case that would take over for another first round pick or second round pick, which I'm fine with that if it's the right guy. Like if you can get Quentin Nelson, Shaq Leonard, or even Michael Pittman, I'm willing to not try and get an extra first round pick out of you. I would still like to get your first round pick next year, but I won't go give me your next 2 first round picks. I'd say we'll take next year's first round pick and we're going to take a 3rd round pick this year and a 3rd round pick next year. Because if they need to get their franchise quarterback, they will pay that price.
They will.
They will. And especially because everyone knows, I'm pretty sure the whole league knows the Bears are open for business for the first overall pick.
And realistically, you're still, whether it is Will Anderson Jr. or Jalen Carter, you're still getting the best position player on the board.
Yeah.
At 4.
They're so interchangeable. Like, you can't go wrong either way.
Like, look at the past couple of years. Like, Kayvon Thibodeau is looking like a stud. Evan Neal's looking great. Like, there's guys that are making bigger impacts than just a quarterback on your team. So it's like, hey, the Bears, even if you're not confident with Justin Fields, you can get a guy who's going to be good, whether Justin Fields is on your team in 3 years or not. Like,
yeah, and Jalen Carter they need a 3 tech. That's like the key to that defense.
Yeah,
which is why I want him.
Which I'm kind of glad that Eberflus is Poles' his guy, because I think when you're a coach and your GM, like we saw with Vrabel, when they're not on the same page, that just causes way more problems.
They make moves that screw up the other.
Oh, I'm going to make a splash. But then all of a sudden your coach is like, well, but how am I supposed to coach this team? If Eberflus is in the draft room where he's like, hey, even if they stay at 2 or stay at 1, and he goes, Jalen Carter, not Will Anderson. You listen to him. He's a defensive guy. Yeah. Don't just make it yourself and be like, it's me. No.
Yeah, I think they're looking to go interior before edge.
But the only thing I think about is J.J. Watt leaving. They might go after Jalen Carter.
J.J. Watt's an edge rusher.
Yeah, but he also plays the inside, especially on their defense. He's been playing the inside.
I guess, but if I'm looking to replace J.J. Watt, I'm taking Will Anderson Jr. I need a guy who can get sacks, not just eat up blocks and plug the middle of the line.
Yeah, but I mean,
I would be fine if either one of those 2 guys ended up on the Bears. I'm just saying, if I'm putting myself in position that the Cardinals are in, do I want Will Anderson Jr., who's more likely to be able to line up in both spots, or Jalen Carter, who's less likely to be able to line up in both spots?
Yeah.
Like, JJ plays both spots, but JJ Watt is known for his sack ability, less his run stopping and plugging and eating blocks and plugging the center of the line.
Yeah.
That's why you would lean Will Anderson Jr. if you're looking to replace his production, which is hard to do, let's be fair. Yeah, but that's just my logic there. Either way, Bears are open for business for that first overall pick. So we'll see how it goes. But I said we'd be quick with that. So Nick, hit us with your question of the week.
Another competition this week. So I'm going to put a number behind my back, 1 through 10. Whoever's closer is going to get an option of what they're going to end up
pass or play. Okay.
Yeah, so you're either passing or playing, and then there's another kind of thing behind it. All right. So I have. Let me put 2 hands back there. So
I was about to say.
I'll let Bobby go first.
All right. So pick your number 1 through 10.
7.
2.
This 6. Ooh. So Bobby, you're going to get the option to either pass or play, or actually, you're just going to pick your category. But if you pick, the other person gets 2 categories to play.
Okay.
So your two options are you have to pick in order the first overall pick in either NFL or NBA.
Like,
So each one you get right, starting with last year's and going back, you get 1.4. And then Andrew's going to have the other one. But Andrew is going to have two categories to guess from because he's picking second.
well, I do not know anything about NBA, so I'm gonna go NFL.
All
I'm
right.
effed, dude. I'm not gonna know the other one.
Hold on.
Okay.
All right, so let me go to the NBA or NFL. You said right?
Yeah, NFL, not
so
NBA, man.
I couldn't even tell you the first overall pick this year, dude.
I
In the
think
NBA.
it was it that Paul? I don't know.
Okay, Bobby.
I'm not gonna say it because
So we're gonna start with 2022, the first overall pick in the NFL.
Trayvon Walker,
All right, so that's one. All right, 2021.
2021. Trevor Lawrence,
Okay, that's two. 2020.
2020. Oh, who was 2020? Why am I drawing a blank here? 2020. What draft class was that?
Is there a time limit on this?
I'm gonna give you. You're gonna get two people that you can get the school for, and then I'm gonna keep your time up though.
Dude, why am I
So
drawing a blank?
2020 at 5, 4. You can ask for the school.
All right, give me the school.
LSU.
Oh, Joe Burrow. Why
Okay,
why
so-
was I missing that?
so you
Oh,
got-
I really hate that you gave him that.
All
Nick.
right,
that
so
was such.
2019. No, because I'll give you the
Oh,
school. Too.
Okay.
Kyler Murray.
Okay, that's 4. All right, 2018.
2018.
You get one more school use.
2018. Quarterback. It wasn't Darnold.
5, 4,
It wasn't Darnold. Who was it?
3.
Get the school, Bobby. It's a
School.
Oklahoma.
Oh, Baker Mayfield.
Okay, that's a 5. So now you're 2017.
17. It's another quarterback. Or am I off here or wait?
No. You don't get to. You don't,
5.
Was it Myles Garrett?
Yes.
Okay.
damn it.
So that's 6. All right, 2016.
No, I'm not as confident.
I know this one.
2016.
5, 4, 3, 2.
I'm out of
One.
guesses.
Jared Goff.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I
That's the one. I'm shocked you didn't know that
I
one.
thought it was 2015.
All
to
right,
be
so you
honest.
got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 6 guys, right? All right, so now we're gonna go with Andrew. Now remember, you get 2 categories.
Okay.
Good
You're gonna
luck
get
with NBA.
2 schools, and then your second category, you're not gonna get any schools.
So I get 2 categories to try and beat his 6
So
points.
you get hit 6, yes.
Ooh, I don't. What are my? What
All
are
right,
my
so we are
options?
starting with the NBA
I don't know if I'm gonna get a single one.
2022. Because you guys are not NBA, we're doing the same thing for Bobby. I will give you what team was picking first.
It doesn't matter.
The Orlando Magic picked first in the 2022 draft.
I don't know who it is, Nick. I already know I don't know it.
Was it that?
It was not who everyone thought was going to be number 1.
What was the school?
He's from Italy.
Yeah, great. Yep, I don't know who it is.
Wait,
Oh,
hold
so-
on. He went to Duke. That's right. I forgot he did go to.
I don't know it, Nick. I don't.
All right. Well, okay. So you're going to have to go through the other category, which is
Was it that Paulo Ranchero guy?
yeah, Paolo Banchero.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't want to look stupid when he said Italy. I got.
I
so
couldn't
thrown
even
off.
name a guy who was drafted outside of I think Jalen Suggs.
All right. So now you're going to have to go
I don't.
in order
Uh,
the last first round picks for the Bears to try to beat Bobby.
the
Oh, so
last
it-
first round picks for the Bears.
Yes.
Okay.
So if they did not pick a first round pick and you name a player, you lose, but you get no points
Sure.
for just saying no pick.
Will you give me? Well, no, I have to go.
So I'm going to go.
Will you will you read the? Will you at least tell me the year
Yes,
out loud?
I
Okay.
will be telling you the year.
Okay,
And
go
if you
for
say
it.
no pick, that does not count as a point. But if you do say someone in that year,
Okay.
you're done.
Okay, I think I can do this.
All right. So 2022,
No pick.
2021,
Justin Fields.
that's 1 point. 2020,
No pick.
2019,
No pick.
correct. 2018,
Roquan Smith.
2. 2017,
Mitch Trubisky.
3. 2016,
Kevin White.
ooh, Leonard Floyd.
Oh, it is what it is.
Bobby, would you like to give him another shot to keep going, or do you
This is
think
crap. I got the NBA
we
draft.
could give him another shot. Yeah.
All right,
This-
so 2015.
That was Kevin White.
So that's 4. 2014.
This is where it gets.
Yeah, see, it gets really hard once you get
This is where
there.
it gets really tricky. In 2014, that was Kyle Fuller,
That's correct. 2013.
Kyle Long,
Yep, that's 6.
I'll give you
2012.
credit.
Shea McClellan,
7. 2011.
2011. This might be wrong. I'm going to say Gabe Karimi.
That's correct.
Honestly, I'm
2010.
shocked you were going that far.
No pick.
Correct. 2009.
Greg Olson.
Incorrect. Greg Wilson was 2007. 2009, also no pick.
No pick. I couldn't.
And then 2008 was Chris Williams.
Yeah, I wasn't going to get that.
Wow.
Yeah, I felt bad because I was trying to figure out, like,
Dude, I was not going to know.
and I
the
was like,
NBA.
I didn't want someone to do Bears and someone to do another team because that would be
Yeah.
unfair. So I figured NBA, NFL, and then the other person would get the Bears because that would be
Yeah.
the most fair I could think of.
For what it's worth, Bobby, I would have given you a second opportunity with the Bears picks too.
Oh yeah, I went
Because I wasn't going to know. I mean, I didn't know. I knew I wasn't going to know the NBA
Yeah.
because I just don't follow. I don't care enough.
Yeah, I know. I feel like
Hey, I knew Paulo Ranchero.
I couldn't tell you a first overall pick outside of Markel Fultz, and I only know about him because he got the yips.
Maybe I could have. I could have got 2. Cape Cunningham was the next one.
do you want to keep going? You want to see how many you can get?
Yeah, let's see how
No.
many Bobby could have got.
2020.
Dude, after that, I couldn't even tell you. 2020? Yeah, no.
Zion, right?
No, 2020 was Anthony Edwards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
see,
I-
there
I
it
know.
is.
2019 was Zion.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Markel Fultz was 2017. So 5 years ago, you would have known.
Yeah, I would have known if it was. And I wouldn't have known the year. I just know because he's got the yips so bad. But that was fun.
That
I
was a good
appreciate
one.
the second opportunity, Bobby. That makes me 2-0 against you
You're
in
welcome.
these things. Maybe I should start going first.
Hey,
but-
you should start guessing the number I put behind my back.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I thought for sure I was like 7's such an obvious pick everyone makes. I'm like maybe Nick's gonna shake it up and go with something low.
I went 6.
It is what it is. But that was a fun one.
was a
So
good one.
good place to wrap up there. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. If you like what you heard, please give us a follow on our social media. Share us with some friends or family who might be interested in the podcast. All of our social medias are linked on our website, garagetalksports.com. Thanks for listening, guys, and we will talk to you next week.
See ya.
See ya.